So, folks, welcome to this new football roundup to talk about the latest news and transfers around the world, that sort of thing. I've happened to work in the football industry in the past, so hopefully I can bring a little bit more in terms of insights and why certain things play out the way they do. Obviously, I've got an opinion on everything, not saying it's right or wrong, but yeah, hopefully can add a little bit more extra spin than a normal fan in their videos just screaming at the camera like a banshee that Southgate should go, which he should have, but hopefully we can add a little bit more in terms of context. So let's jump straight into it. Obviously, we've just had the Euros finish up, wrap up not long ago. And I think overall, from a quality perspective, probably not too much to say. The right team won clearly, and I think it really helped that the host team, Germany, also were really good. Just unlucky, I think, from their draw and from the game itself, the way certain incidents played out. A couple of the smaller countries really showed something quite nice in terms of Switzerland, Austria as well, in terms of the ways that they played. But overall, quality probably not the highest. But that's not something new for international football, I think. I think what was really nice about the tournament in general was really the feeling of the atmosphere, the environment, the different types of fan bases, the color that was really coming across within the games and outside of that as well. That whole energy around the tournament. And I get it when FIFA say, we want to take the game around the world, introduce it to new markets and also line their pockets, of course. But you really can't beat a traditional country that really has the heritage of football, crazy fan base, and it's just easy to get to. So, of course, all the fans were there for pretty much all the games, I think, and it just made it that carnival atmosphere all the way around. So I think overall a great success for Germany as well, particularly because they came into it a bit, I think, negative, or at least with trepidation in terms of how their team was going to perform. So overall, I think, plenty of positives from the host perspective. Spain, great performance from them. Obviously, the best team by far. I see them as favourites going into the next World Cup. I'm not sure how a Brazil or Argentina or any of these other countries that are on top, bolted on top of the Euros, is really going to play too much. Be too difficult for them to handle. I don't really see it. So let's see. And for me, if we're going to carry that forward, the Ballon d'Or winner should, for me, be no doubt Rodri in that team, who's basically crushed it for Manchester City over the last years and now for Spain as well. But as we know, it doesn't really play out like that. It's more of a marketing and branding type exercise. Who shouts the loudest and has the most friends. So let's see how that plays out. Anyway, that's just wrapped up, but already, the new season is already kicking off in terms of pre-season preparations, where I think most of the clubs, if I'm looking today, have already arrived in the US for their preparations. Of course, a lot of them are going to be Premiership teams as well. A lot of the owners are America, but in general, it's not a big surprise for anybody that international markets are really big now for football clubs in terms of increasing their fan base. But in general, that is a means to, of course, get higher revenue, whether it's in terms of on a more individual basis, in terms of corporate sponsorships that you can get by market. Teams like Man United, Barcelona are fabulous at this. If you look in certain countries in Southeast Asia, for example, they seem to have a drinks or tire partner in each of those type of countries. Sorry. If you're looking at the bigger picture, which is really the big heavy hitter in terms of the revenue gain, it's really about the international media rights in those countries. So as we know, domestically, whether it's commercial sponsors or whether it's the TV rights, pretty much they're stable, I would say, for most of the big countries. So they're looking to international markets to gain more money. And the US is one of the big ones, obviously with the World Cup coming in 2026 as well. So there's really a feeling that there's going to be a big explosion in terms of football in that country. Now is the time to set the seeds so that we can, as football clubs, benefit from that. Apparently, football is now the number one participated sport in the US, which is a pretty big deal. And it's taken its time, but it's going to take its time in order to get to that position. These are sort of generational changes. You have, of course, a lot of other sports that it's competing against, and it's only when you start to get to 3 or 4 year olds who are using football as their main sport when they're playing in the early age that you really then start to make that difference and penetrate into that fan base. So overall, the clubs are there. They are going to look to play a few games. They are look to be in big stadiums depending on what the teams are. I think last year it was Arsenal, Manchester United in the MetLife, for example. Probably I think it's going to be something similar like that, whatever it is, 80, 90,000. High ticket prices, can probably sell something on with the media rights in terms of whether it's ESPN or trying to pad out that NBC contract a bit more. So yeah, very lucrative for these guys. I wouldn't take too much, I would say, in terms of results, etc. Preseason is preseason. You're testing a lot out. It's always handy to see some new signings, how they're bedding in, and maybe some sort of tactical plan that could come into effect when the season plays out. But yeah, let's see what happens, and we'll follow it closely. So moving on from that, I think let's talk about some of the other issues that have come up. So Leeds United also recently released their new jersey. Talked about it in one of my previous shorts, that it's a little bit of a disappointment. So you'll know that Red Bull came in as a minority investor not long ago. I think they came in because they really want to increase their brand presence within the UK market. Football obviously is a big one for them, or sports in general, as we know in all the other markets, countries, and sports, F1s, football, etc. That's very important for them. So how could they do this without spending an absolute truckload of money? How could they do this without causing some issues in terms of regulation, in terms of UEFA? If they already have a club in Germany, RB Leipzig, which I think at their moment in time is probably their main flagship club, and they're not looking to replace that, I think, but it could change. How can then you do that within the UK space? Okay, we can take a minority investment and become a commercial partner of a club, which they don't do very often. So they've done it in the past, I think, in cricket within India. There's a Rajasthan Royals Cricket Club where they're a sponsor, but other than that, they mainly are on the front and shirt of their own teams. So this is something a little bit different for them. And I think in general, they should use this opportunity wisely by making sure that they have the fans on side. This was a good opportunity with the jersey to do that, but they just basically plastered their own logo as it is, red, yellow, on there. It visually just looks ugly. It clashes with the blue on the side. But they could have really just put in a different logo, like they've done with some of their other clubs. The New York Red Bulls frequently has different iterations of the Red Bull logo. Could have put something in neutral in, really already got the fans on side, but not to be. So yeah, sometimes I just think, is that negligence, or is that just you don't really care, to be honest, and fans don't matter, and you're there with your agenda, which is to sell cans, and it's just trying to be a bit more of a juggernaut approach rather than having some nuances in your relationship. But yeah, it is what it is, and we'll see with the response in terms of buying the new shirt, if the fans then talk with their wallet in that case. Other than that, not too much going on. There is some transfer talk at the moment. I think the big one that was annoying me a little bit was Kevin De Bruyne potentially going to Saudi Arabia. Now, Guardiola says it's not going to happen, and I hope that's the case. He's one of my favorite players, and of course, he's 33. He's got 1 year left on his contract, and he's just come off a season where, again, he played a pivotal role in Manchester City winning the title. I think there's still plenty to give at the highest level of European football, even if he wants to go to another European club. But you have 1 more year. Why don't you see where you are? 33, 34, of course, that's can be a bit of a tipping point in terms of how you feel energetically, your legs, etc. But give it 1 more year at the highest level and then go on a free. That, for me, makes more sense than going at this point in time. He has talked about the financial benefits, and I have to say it's, credit to him for the fact that he's so honest about it, saying, basically I can get in 1 or 2 years what's taken me 15 to get. But I'm also like, dude, if you're already on 20 million, and I get it that 100 million is a big amount, saying that it is 100 million, but I mean, 20 million already gives you everything you need. And if you're just thinking about it in the grand scheme of things, or in terms of what you could achieve in terms of your career, and the fact that you could just move in this way a year later, seems a bit of I would say, a hasty decision, chasing that dollar. You already see some players coming back. Henderson didn't last long. Rakitic has now come back to Croatia, for example. So yeah, let's see how it plays out, but hopefully he's staying there. But if he's not, that also then leaves Manchester City a little bit more fragile than usual in terms of finding a replacement, not only in terms of his talent, but in terms of just his experience and leadership within that dressing room. A couple of other signings in the last days. So you had Lenny Yoro coming in for Manchester United, quite a bit amount of money, I think just less than 60 million if you have all the add-ons plugged in. Can't say that I've seen him too much. I think I've saw him once or twice in the last season, but very uneventful games where nothing really happened. So couldn't really judge it too much. And I don't want to be one of those guys who starts saying, this is going to be a great signing and this is going to take us to the title, when you don't really know the player. Yeah, let's calm down and let's see how it plays out. Not just check, the 30-second YouTube video that was just created in the last day or so, or copy whatever else someone else tells you. So I think he's going to be a good talent. When you see the type of clubs that were linked with him, that's always a bit of an indication, because when you have a Real Madrid and a Barca and a Man United, you go, okay, this could be a serious player. when you typically have someone like another player who then has, Real Madrid is chasing him and Dortmund and Everton, you go, okay, I think he's more of an Everton player. And those other names are there more from an agent trying to pump up the interest and the price tag, which they're always doing at any point in time. But sometimes it's a bit more obvious than others. I think with him, the main point will be he probably is a talent, and I think we'll probably see him at the Olympics maybe as a first opportunity and under the new Ineos banner. But I think with him, it's really going to be about who is he surrounded with. So who are the other players that are going to be around him? Just putting him in by himself and saying, problem solved is not going to work. If Arsenal had done something similar with Saliba, then obviously he wouldn't turn out to be the player that he is. He's also surrounded with a great support unit around him, relationships, partnerships that are built around him that make it work. And that's going to be something similar that needs to happen at Man United. Man United themselves need a separate video. I'll probably try and do someone a little bit this week. In general, they basically need a clear out of their whole team, but they can't really do that because everyone knows that. So bargaining power, negotiation power is not going to be at its highest. People are just not interested in their players. They've seen that they're probably not at the caliber that they want. And they can't do what, for example, Arsenal did in terms of just basically write off a whole bunch of players. Arsenal just let go Pepe, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ozil, all these type of guys, which were like all of their record signings, just so they could start afresh, get money cleared up for or wages cleared up for new signings, get different personalities in that they really wanted, and that's something that Man United with their ownership I don't think can do. So it's going to be a very slow process in order to get out the players that you need to and get in the players that you want. We'll hopefully follow them a little bit more. Chris Vivell, who's come on as director of recruitment, I hold in very high estimation. So as long as he's able to do his job, I think talents that are identified will be the ones that you need. Next up, I think Onana was one that I saw for 50 million coming into Aston Villa from Everton. Everton must be laughing at this. Again, I've only seen Everton a couple of times and he hasn't really done too much. I've followed Belgium quite a lot of times. He hasn't never really done too much. Big, athletic, strong, so very physical, I think, but from an actual, IQ, intelligence, and real technicality, not sure that he really has much to offer. But from Unai Emery's standpoint, I mean, he's not a stupid guy. Monchi is not stupid at Aston Villa either. Clearly, he sees a role for him, and it could be a potential partnership that he's seeing with Yuri Tillemans, his Belgian colleague. Tillemans I do hold very highly in terms of being a talent, very smart player, able to do a lot of things from distance as well. But his doubt around him has always been around maybe his engine and mobility, and maybe Unai Emery sees Onana as someone who can complement Tillemans much more in that respect, and therefore allow Tillemans to break forward on a far greater regularity. So let's see. Unai Emery, I think, is there for quite a while now, or is going to be there for quite a while now, building his project. So if anyone can probably see, the diamond in the rough, it's going to be someone like him. I think finally, last transfer. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. De Bruyne, Onana, Calafiori to Arsenal. So of course, everyone will have taken note from him from the Euros, and of course, he's had a great season for Bologna. That is actually a really great signing. Someone who's really proven himself at a very high level. Price tag relatively cheap. I think less than 40 million all in, which is really stunning if you see Onana at 50. I would say I was surprised, but then not surprised. It is a classic Arteta signing. Someone who is a very good player and someone who's very versatile. So I previously thought that left back position was something that was a bit problematic. Maybe they would find some internal solutions or look to Zinchenko to refine himself a little bit more in terms of the way he plays. But looks like they're going to maybe use this signing as a way to address that, also provide cover for the centre as well. It's unfortunate right now as we're speaking that Tomiyasu is injured, someone who's very versatile in that back line that can also provide options. So hopefully they can get that over the line. It's going to be a great signing to bring to the Premier League. Other than that, I don't think there's too much going on. We'll see a little bit more in the coming days of some more transfers that are upcoming. And hopefully like and subscribe, and we'll talk soon.